It began on a quiet morning. The sun rose like any other day, painting the clouds gold. Cities woke up slowly. Cars moved through traffic. Children laughed on their way to school, and the world seemed calm. No one knew that this would be the last peaceful sunrise humanity would ever see. At 9:17 a.m., the sky trembled. It was not thunder. It was not an earthquake. It was something deeper, a low vibration that ran through the bones of the planet. Windows rattled. Birds fell from the air. Dogs began to howl. For 1 full minute the world shook without reason. Then silence. People came out of their homes, staring at the sky. It shimmered faintly, like a mirror touched by invisible waves. The blue of the heavens turned pale, and a strange hum filled the air, like a heartbeat too large for the world. In space, satellites went blind. Every communication line failed. Every radar screen turned black. At the International Observation Center in Geneva, Dr. Ilara Voss, a young astrophysicist, watched as the data feeds vanished one by one. She stood frozen, her coffee shaking in her hand. "This isn't solar interference," she whispered. "This is something else." Her assistant ran to her side. "Ma'am, look at the readings. It's not coming from space. It's coming through it." And then they saw it on the main screen. A colossal shape emerged above Earth's orbit. Not a ship, not an asteroid, but a ring of light, larger than the moon. It spun slowly, opening like an eye. The outer edge glowed with energy patterns no human computer could understand. Around the world, panic spread like wildfire. News channels called it the halo. Some said it was an alien structure. Others believed it was the end of days. Governments declared global emergencies. Airports closed. Power grids failed. The tremor in the sky continued every few minutes, pulsing like a heartbeat. At midnight, the world turned to static. Every TV, phone, and radio went dark. For 15 seconds, humanity was deaf and blind. Then a voice came through every device, clear and cold. "Humanity, you have been found." Every person on Earth heard it. Every child, every soldier, every scientist. The voice was neither male nor female. It sounded ancient, layered, as if billions of echoes spoke as one. People fell to their knees. Some prayed. Some screamed. Others simply listened. Dr. Ilara Voss replayed the recording again and again, her fingers trembling. The frequency behind the voice wasn't random. It carried a pattern. When she converted it into a visual graph, her heart nearly stopped. The waveform matched human DNA. The message was built inside them, inside everyone. "This isn't a warning," she said softly. "It's a call." By morning, chaos ruled the world. Cities turned dark. The internet collapsed. The United Earth Council called an emergency summit, but half the members couldn't connect. Planes were grounded. Oceans boiled with magnetic storms, and above it all, the ring in the sky began to spin faster. Cameras from the surviving satellites captured strange flashes inside the ring, silhouettes moving, shapes forming and fading. Some looked like ships, others like faces. News anchors tried to stay calm, but fear spread faster than information. Rumors filled the net: alien invasion, divine return, government experiment gone wrong. Dr. Ilara refused to stop working. She stayed awake for 48 hours straight, decoding the signal. Each layer she peeled away revealed another message beneath, a countdown, perhaps, or a sequence. Then, suddenly, her computer froze. Lines of glowing symbols appeared across the screen, symbols she had never seen before, and the voice spoke again. Just for her. "You carry the code of the ancients." The test begins when the sky remembers. The lights in her lab flickered. She stood still, her breath caught between fear and awe. "The sky remembers," she repeated. "What does that mean?" Outside her window, the world glowed red. The ring in the sky was expanding, stretching across continents. Its light touched oceans and deserts alike. Wherever it fell, machines stopped working. Yet people felt a strange warmth, like being watched by something vast and intelligent. A young boy in Tokyo pointed at the sky and whispered, "It's looking at us." In New York, church bells rang without being touched. In Cairo, the stars moved into a perfect circle. And in Antarctica, researchers found the ice melting from below, revealing ancient metallic ruins, long buried. Ilara received one final transmission from an old satellite before it burned out. The image showed something emerging from the ring, not a ship but a shadow. Vast and alive, she stared in disbelief as it began to descend toward Earth. A shiver ran through her entire body. "This is no invasion," she said quietly. "This is a judgment." At that exact moment, every clock on Earth stopped. Time itself seemed to hold its breath, and then, for the first time in human history, the voice spoke to the entire planet again. "Prepare yourselves, children of Earth. Your ascension or your extinction begins now." The world froze. The skies pulsed like a living thing. And as Ilara watched the light spread across the clouds, she whispered the words that would later echo through history. "The sky, it's trembling again." The world did not sleep that night. The ring in the sky kept glowing, pulsing like the heartbeat of a god. Every few hours the strange voice returned, calm, powerful, and impossible to block. "Humanity, your signal has been received. The observation has begun." No one knew what it meant, but everyone felt the same fear that something had found them, something far beyond their understanding. Governments tried to control the panic. The United Earth Council set up global broadcasts, urging people to stay calm. But how could anyone stay calm when the sky itself was watching? In laboratories, scientists worked without rest. Satellites were rebuilt, transmitters reconnected. And somewhere deep under the ruins of Geneva, Dr. Ilara Voss sat alone in front of her cracked monitor. Her eyes were red from sleepless nights. She replayed the message again and again. Each time, the voice grew clearer. Each time, she discovered something new. The signal wasn't just sound, it carried emotion, fear, sorrow, and something that felt like curiosity. Ilara's team managed to decode fragments of the message. The words appeared on the screen: trial, ascension. The worthy. Her hands trembled. Trial, ascension. Are they judging us? She asked softly. The head of Project Skyguard, Commander Kane, stood behind her. A tall man, once a soldier, now the leader of Earth's defense. His voice was low and steady. "Maybe they are," he said. "Or maybe they're testing how we react to fear." Then came the next wave. Across the world, orbs of light began to fall from the sky, small glowing spheres that floated above cities and oceans. They emitted no sound, no heat, only a soft hum that vibrated through human hearts. One appeared above New Delhi. Another hovered over the Amazon rainforest. In New York, an orb hung silently above the Empire State Building, glowing with an eerie blue light. Cameras tried to capture them, but the footage always distorted. Whenever anyone approached too close, they felt a wave of emotion, memories, dreams, pain, love, flashing inside their minds. Ilara realized the orbs were not weapons. They were scanners. "They're studying us," she whispered. "They're not interested in our weapons or machines. They're scanning human emotion." Kane frowned. "Why emotions?" Ilara looked up at the screen. "Because maybe that's what makes us different. Maybe they want to know if we're more than just intelligent animals." That night, something even stranger happened. One of the orbs in Africa pulsed 3 times, then projected a hologram of stars into the air, a spiral galaxy far from Earth. In its center, a red light flickered, as if marking a location. The voice spoke again, this time through every device, every speaker, every mind. "You were born from the ashes of those who came before. You carry their code, their strength, and their failure. Rise, or fall, by your own hand." Then silence. The world stood still. The words echoed in every heart. Ilara looked at Kane. "They said we were born from others. What does that mean?" He shook his head. "Maybe they created us. Maybe we're someone's experiment." The media went wild. Religious leaders called it divine judgment. Scientists called it first contact. And millions of ordinary people simply stood outside, staring at the glowing orbs and asking the same question. Why now? In the following days, strange patterns appeared in the sky. Lines of light, like constellations but shifting, forming symbols and breaking apart. Some believed they were messages, others thought they were warnings. The United Earth Council formed a secret division, Project Skyguard, to study and defend. Every nation shared its technology and knowledge for the first time in history. But while leaders debated, the voice continued to evolve. It started speaking in human languages, English, Mandarin, Arabic, Spanish, switching every few minutes. It adapted faster than any AI on Earth. Your actions are seen. Your fears are known. The path will be chosen soon. One night, Ilara sat alone in her lab, the hum of the machines mixing with her heartbeat. She spoke softly into the microphone, knowing the voice could somehow hear her. "Who are you?" she asked. "What do you want from us?" For a moment, nothing. Then her monitor flickered. Lines of alien code appeared, rearranging into words she could read. "We are the Dominion. We are the architects of life and death. We gave your world breath. Now we return to see what you have become." Ilara's breath caught in her throat. "You created us?" The voice was calm, emotionless. "Created, released, forgotten, but you survived. That is unexpected." Before she could respond, the lab lights exploded, and her systems went dead. The Dominion's final message burned across the screen in glowing letters. "Your species will rise or fall by your own hand." And just as suddenly, all the orbs vanished. No explosion, no trace, just a soft ripple in the air. Like reality itself had blinked. The world was silent again. But the silence felt different this time. Heavy, waiting. Ilara stared out the window at the faint glow of the ring still hovering above the earth. Her reflection stared back at her. Tired, frightened, but burning with curiosity. Commander Kane's voice came through the static-filled intercom. "Dr. Voss, it looks like they've given us a choice." Ilara turned slowly toward the sky. "No," she said. "They've given us a test." The camera would pull back, showing Earth below the pulsing ring. Fragile and small, surrounded by the cold stars. A voice echoed faintly through the night. "Prepare, children of Earth. The first phase begins soon." The screen fades to black. The hum returns, and the sky trembles once more. The world held its breath. Days had passed since the orbs vanished, but the ring in the sky still burned above Earth, silent, spinning, and alive. Every night it pulsed once, sending a low vibration through the atmosphere. Like the slow beat of a giant heart, people had stopped calling it the halo. Now, everyone called it the Eye. Governments united under one name, the Terran Accord. All nations shared information, pooling every bit of technology to understand the phenomenon. Satellites were rebuilt and pointed toward the ring. Fighter jets patrolled the skies, though everyone knew that guns would be useless if it decided to strike. In the underground base of Project Skyguard, Dr. Ilara Voss and Commander Kane stood before a giant holographic display. The Eye glowed above them, its edges flickering with unknown energy patterns. Kane crossed his arms. "It hasn't moved in 72 hours. No transmissions, no energy spikes." Ilara stared at the data. "It's waiting. Waiting for what?" She looked up at him. "For us." Before Kane could reply, alarms screamed through the control room. Technicians shouted, "Massive energy spike. It's opening. Sector 9 of the ring." The hologram flared with white light. In orbit, cameras caught it first, a tear forming in the center of the eye. From that wound, something emerged. It was not a ship. It was a being, made of pure energy and light, tall as a mountain with no clear shape. Its body shimmered like liquid glass, and its voice came through every frequency at once. "We are the Dominion. We come to judge what we once created." The world went silent. All across Earth, screens flickered to life, showing the glowing entity floating above the clouds. Cities stopped. People filled the streets, watching the sky. Children cried, soldiers froze, and even the oceans seemed to still. The being continued, its voice echoing through every device, every mind. "This world has reached the threshold. You will now prove your worth. If you succeed, you ascend. If you fail, you are erased." The being's light dimmed, and thousands of smaller lights, Dominion drones, began to detach from its body, spreading like a swarm across the planet. Each drone landed quietly, scanning cities, mountains, and oceans. They gathered data, watching every act of kindness and cruelty, every fear, every spark of courage. In Skyguard Command, panic spread. Kane slammed his hand on the table. We can't let them control the narrative. We need communication with every major base now. Ilara watched the being's light shimmer above the atmosphere. She could hear it, whispering inside her mind. Show us your unity. Show us your truth. Her pulse quickened. It's not just judging our power, she said. It's judging our soul. That night, chaos began. Some countries fired missiles at the Dominion drones, but the weapons dissolved in mid-air, turned into harmless dust. Others tried to communicate, sending radio messages and mathematical codes. None were answered. In one corner of the earth, riots broke out. In another, people knelt in prayer. But something else began to happen. People from different nations started helping each other. Rival groups shared food. Scientists from opposite sides worked together. Humanity was scared, yes, but it was also awakening. On the third day, one of the drones descended near Skyguard base. It hovered silently in the air, shining bright white. Its surface rippled like water, then opened, projecting a hologram of the energy being above them. Ilara stepped forward, her heart pounding. You said we must prove our worth, she said, voice trembling. How? What is this trial? The hologram's eyes glowed brighter. You will face your reflection. You will confront what you have become. Then, with a wave of energy, it released a timer into the sky, a massive countdown that appeared across the clouds of every continent. 7 glowing symbols, like fire in the heavens. Each symbol represented a day. When the final light fades, said the voice, judgment will be complete. And then the projection vanished. All over the world, people stared at the countdown burning above them. 7 days until judgment. Kane turned to Ilara. If we fail, what happens? Ilara's voice was quiet. They'll erase us. Start again. Kane clenched his fists. Then we don't fail. The following hours were chaos. Every military force went on alert. Every scientist worked around the clock. Project Skyguard became the center of human survival. Ilara and her team discovered something strange. When groups of people worked together, the Dominion drones slowed their activity, as if observing more closely. But when humans fought or panicked, the drones turned red, moving faster. They're measuring emotional energy, Ilara said. Maybe that's their scale. Unity versus chaos, Kane frowned. So, we're being graded? She nodded. Exactly. That night, as Ilara stood outside the base, watching the countdown symbols pulse in the sky, a sudden cold wind swept across the desert. She looked up and saw the massive being, the archivist, forming again above the horizon. This time it spoke directly to her. You resist your fate. Few of your kind have done so. That is interesting. Ilara took a step forward, her fear turning to anger. We're not your experiment. We're not your pets, the archivist tilted its glowing head. Then prove it. With that, it vanished into a storm of light, leaving behind a trail that split the clouds apart. Ilara looked at the sky, at the giant symbols counting down the days. She whispered to herself, 7 days to prove we deserve to live. The music would swell. The screen would fade to black, and one last line would appear on the screen. Day 1 of judgment has begun. The countdown had begun. 7 symbols glowed in the sky, each representing a day before judgment. When the first symbol faded, humanity understood. Time was running out. All across the world, people stopped pretending this was temporary. The Dominion wasn't a passing storm or a mysterious signal. It was a test of survival, and humanity was not planning to lose. Under the command of Project Skyguard, every country came together. Borders no longer mattered. Soldiers, scientists, doctors, and engineers worked side by side. For the first time in history, Earth acted as one. They called their alliance the Terran Accord. Dr. Ilara Voss stood inside the Skyguard control center, her eyes on the holographic map of the world. Red dots marked where Dominion drones were still observing. Each one floated silently, watching, recording, judging. Commander Kane entered the room, his face grim. 3 more drones appeared over the Pacific, he said. They're not attacking, just waiting, Ilara sighed. They're waiting to see if we destroy ourselves, Kane looked at her. Then we'll show them the opposite. Around the world, humanity started to fight back, not with hate, but with unity. Farmers shared food with cities. Rival nations opened their borders. People built shelters, power grids, and communication hubs faster than anyone thought possible. And the more they worked together, the weaker the drones seemed to become. Their lights dimmed. Their movements slowed. Ilara noticed the pattern first. They feed on division, she said during a briefing. Every time we fight or panic, the drones react. They get stronger. But when we cooperate, they lose energy. Commander Kane slammed his hand on the table. Then unity is our weapon. That phrase spread like fire across the planet. Unity is our weapon. People painted it on walls, shouted it in the streets, and printed it on banners. But the Dominion noticed too. On the 4th day, the sky darkened. The ring pulsed violently, sending a storm of light across the clouds. For the first time, the Dominion attacked. Massive energy beams struck military bases around the world. Drones released silver spheres that exploded with EMP waves, shutting down entire power grids. Cities went dark. Communication failed. Skyguard command shook under the blast. Ilara clung to her console as alarms screamed. Kane shouted orders. Reroute power. Shield the data servers. Above them, the holographic display flickered, showing dozens of Dominion machines descending from orbit. They weren't observing anymore. They were testing. Earth's defenses came alive. Fighter jets launched, missiles fired, railguns roared. But the alien drones moved like ghosts, phasing through attacks, learning and adapting. Still, humanity refused to surrender. In the burning skies over Europe, pilots fought until their last breath. In Africa, engineers rebuilt broken shields using scraps of old satellites. In Asia, hackers worked non-stop to jam the Dominion signals. The world had never been this united, or this desperate. Ilara and her team analyzed the energy readings. One discovery changed everything. The Dominion drones are connected, she said, her voice filled with realization. They share a network, like neurons in a brain. If we can disrupt the link, we can blind them. Kane nodded. Can we do it? Maybe, but we'd need a massive energy pulse, something to overload their system. Kane smiled faintly. Then let's make one. Using Dominion fragments recovered from a crashed drone, Skyguard engineers built a resonance cannon, a weapon powered by the same energy that ran through the ring itself. When the Dominion attacked again, humanity was ready. In the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, on a floating base, the resonance cannon charged. The sky turned white with power. Kane gave the order. Fire. The cannon unleashed a shockwave of light. It spread across the planet, a blinding pulse that echoed through every drone in the sky. One by one, their lights went out. They fell, hundreds of them, crashing into oceans, mountains, and deserts. The people of Earth looked up in disbelief. For the first time, the sky was quiet. The archivist, the Dominion being, appeared once more, its light dimmer than before. You resist your extinction, it said. That is... Interesting. Kane stood before the hologram projection. We don't resist. We survive. We adapt. That's what humans do. The archivist tilted its glowing head. Defiance is a dangerous virtue. You were made to serve, not to challenge. Ilara stepped forward. Then maybe we were made wrong. The being's eyes flashed with light, almost like anger. Then your fate is sealed. The next trial begins, and just like that, the sky cracked again. A new energy surge burst from the ring, spreading faster than light. Kane turned to Ilara. What's happening? She stared at the readings. They're changing the rules. Above Earth, the ring expanded. From within, new shapes appeared. Massive Dominion warships, larger than mountains, covered in silver armor that glowed like fire. Humanity had passed the first test. But the Dominion wasn't finished. As the world watched in awe and terror, the seventh symbol in the sky began to fade. One more day had passed. 6 lights remained, Ilara whispered. They wanted to see if we could stand together. Now they want to see if we can fight back. Kane looked toward the sky, his eyes reflecting the glow of the incoming ships. And then we'll give them a fight they'll never forget. The scene would fade out, the earth shining in darkness, the Dominion fleet descending, and the faint echo of a human voice broadcasting across the planet. This is Commander Kane of Skyguard. Humanity stands united. We are not afraid. The war for survival had begun. The Dominion fleet filled the sky. Cities darkened under their shadows. Their ships were vast and silent, glowing like silver moons. Every human eye turned upward in fear, and defiance, humanity's first victory, had given them hope. But the Dominion was not finished. They had come to test, to judge, and to remind humans of what they truly were. Deep inside Skyguard Command, Dr. Ilara Voss worked beside Commander Kane and a team of exhausted scientists. The room glowed with blue light from holographic screens, showing alien code and energy waves. Ilara's voice was steady but low. They're changing frequencies. Their systems are evolving. Every time we strike, they learn. Kane frowned. Then we'll learn faster. But Ilara's eyes stayed on one fragment of alien data, a sequence she had seen before. It wasn't a weapon code. It wasn't a message. It was something much more personal. DNA, human DNA. She stared at it, her heart racing. Kane, these patterns match the human genome. Almost perfectly. Kane turned toward her. What are you saying? Ilara swallowed. I think the Dominion didn't just find us. Her voice trembled slightly. They made us. The room fell silent. The words felt too heavy to accept. Kane stepped closer. You mean humans are their creation? Ilara nodded slowly. Everything about us, our biology, our emotions, even the structure of our DNA, it all carries Dominion code. We were designed, engineered. Kane clenched his fists. Then why abandon us? Why come back now? Before Ilara could answer, the lights flickered. The holograms shifted, and the familiar voice of the Dominion echoed through every speaker. You were born from our hand, made in our image. You were meant to build worlds, not question your creators. Ilara's heart pounded. Then why test us? The voice replied, cold and final. Because you were never meant to last. The room went silent again, except for the hum of the servers. Outside, humanity fought on. Jets and drones circled the sky. Orbital weapons fired beams of light against Dominion ships. For every human victory, 2 more enemy vessels appeared, yet something was changing. The Dominion seemed hesitant. They didn't annihilate cities, they studied them. Every battle looked more like an experiment than a war. Ilara's team dug deeper into the alien archives. Using captured Dominion tech, they decoded hidden data streams inside the enemy's communication system, and then they found it, a single message buried in the network. A message not meant for humans. It was from a higher Dominion intelligence, and it read, Project Humanity, Final Evaluation Phase. Subject species show anomaly. Empathy. Proceed with field termination if corruption persists. Ilara froze. Empathy. They see it as corruption, Kane growled, because they don't understand it. She looked at him, eyes wide with realization. No, they fear it. They fear what we became, something they can't control. For the first time, Kane smiled faintly. Then maybe that's our weapon. The next hours were chaos and light. Skyguard prepared for the next assault. But Ilara's discoveries spread quickly, across every human channel, through every radio wave and broadcast. We were created by the Dominion, the message said. But we are no longer theirs. Across the planet, people rose. Soldiers, engineers, farmers, all united under a single banner. We are the children who defied their gods. The archivist, the Dominion's glowing messenger, appeared again in orbit. Its massive face hovered above Earth, watching. You were not meant to resist, it said. You were meant to serve. Commander Kane's voice echoed through the global broadcast. "We've served enough. It's time we stand as equals." The archivist's light flickered, almost uncertain. "Equality is not permitted. You are chaos. You bring disorder." Kane raised his head toward the sky. "No, we bring life. We bring hope. And we fight for each other. That's what makes us human." The archivist paused for a long moment. Then softly, almost like a whisper, "You were meant to obey, but you learned to defy." And then it vanished. Alara stood frozen, the echo of those words burning in her mind. "Defy," she repeated. "That's what they don't understand. That's what scares them." She turned to Kane. "We can't just defend Earth anymore. We have to strike back." Kane nodded. "You're thinking what I'm thinking." They both looked at the same image, the ring in the sky, the gateway that brought the Dominion fleet to Earth. "We go there," Kane said. "We take the fight to their home." Project Skyguard shifted from defense to offense. Using captured Dominion fragments, human engineers built something the world had never seen, the first hybrid starship. Powered by both human technology and Dominion energy, they named it the Dawnfire. It wasn't just a ship. It was a symbol. As the crew prepared for launch, Alara stood on the observation deck, watching the clouds part. "All this time, they thought we were their mistake," she said. "But maybe we're their evolution." Kane placed a hand on her shoulder. "Let's prove it." The engines of the Dawnfire roared to life, glowing with human and alien light intertwined. Billions of people across the world looked up at the sky, at the single ship rising against the impossible. As it pierced the clouds, Alara whispered under her breath, "Let's show them what humanity really is." The ship climbed higher, straight toward the ring, the wound in the sky that had haunted Earth for weeks. From orbit, the Dominion fleet began to move, closing in like a wall of silver fire. Kane's voice echoed across every channel. "This is Commander Kane of the Terran Accord. We are not your creation anymore. We are your consequence." The Dawnfire entered the ring, and the sky exploded in light. The screen fades to black. Music builds, hopeful, fierce, unstoppable. They thought we were their tools, but we were their test. The Dawnfire vanished into the ring. For a moment the world went silent. The clouds stopped moving. The countdown symbols in the sky froze. Humanity held its breath, waiting to know whether its first step into the unknown would be its last. And then the stars changed. The Dawnfire emerged on the other side, not into empty space but into a storm of light. Before them stretched the Dominion's empire, an endless network of colossal cities floating in the void, connected by rivers of glowing energy. Planets hung like ornaments around a massive artificial sun. Everything was alive, humming, perfect. Commander Kane stood on the bridge, staring in awe. "We found them," he whispered. "The gods who made us." Dr. Alara Voss stood beside him, eyes wide with both wonder and fear. "And they're waiting." The Dominion fleet surrounded them within minutes, thousands of ships, each the size of a mountain, moving in perfect silence. A deep, resonant voice filled the Dawnfire's speakers. "You have crossed the threshold. You stand where no creation was meant to stand." Alara took a breath and stepped forward. "We didn't come to kneel. We came to speak." The voice echoed, almost amused. "Speak then, child of Earth, but know, every word will decide your fate." Ilara's voice trembled, but her resolve did not. "You call us your creation, but you abandoned us." Silence followed. Then the Dominion voice spoke again. "You were not abandoned. You were left to see if you could rise. You were the last of our designs, the experiment we chose to forget." Kane frowned. "And what did you learn from forgetting us?" "That imperfection breeds defiance, and defiance breeds war." And then the Dominion attacked. From the glowing cities came streams of light, weapons beyond imagination. The Dawnfire shook as beams tore through the void. Shields flared, alarms screamed, and the hull burned white-hot. Kane shouted orders. Evasive pattern Delta. "Return fire!" Humanity's first interstellar battle had begun. The Dawnfire's cannons roared, firing blasts of hybrid energy that cut through Dominion ships. For every enemy destroyed, 2 more appeared. The stars themselves seemed to bleed light. Ilara worked frantically at the console. Their energy field is alive, like a nervous system. It's not just ships. It's one giant organism. Kane turned. Then we hit the brain. They targeted the center, the great citadel of the Dominion, a vast structure shaped like a heart, pulsing with blue fire. But as they approached, the Dominion's defenses grew stronger. Dozens of smaller human ships followed through the ring, joining the battle. The united Terran fleet, humanity's greatest creation, faced the gods who made them, the stars lit with explosions. The void became a sea of fire, and still the humans fought. In the chaos, Ilara discovered something hidden in the energy field, a signal, faint but familiar. She traced it and gasped. "It's human," she said. "There are human frequencies buried in their network. It's us, our emotions, our thoughts. They're feeding on our fear." Kane's eyes widened. "So we give them something else." He opened the ship's communication link, not to command, but to every human alive, people of Earth, he said, voice steady, carried through every speaker, every radio, every mind. "They think our fear is weakness. They think emotion is a flaw. Let's show them what emotion really means." On Earth, billions listened. In ruined cities, in dark shelters, in silent fields, people lifted their heads to the sky and felt something awaken. Hope. That emotion spread like fire across the human consciousness. The Dominion's energy readings spiked, but instead of growing stronger, their network began to crack. Ilara smiled through tears. "They can't handle it. They don't understand emotion. They never learned to feel," Kane grinned. "Then let's teach them." The Dawnfire glowed brighter, its engines pulsing with the collective resonance of human thought. Every heartbeat on Earth became fuel. Every memory, every tear, every act of courage turned into light. Zara rerouted the energy. "I can send it back, through the DNA signal they used to find us." "Do it!" Kane shouted. The Dawnfire unleashed a massive wave of light, not a weapon, but a song. It wasn't destruction. It was humanity itself, echoing through the void. Laughter, love, sorrow, unity, all woven together into one impossible burst of energy. The Dominion fleet faltered. Ships stopped moving. Their perfect formation broke apart. The Citadel's glow dimmed. Across the system, the Dominion began to crumble. The voice returned, weaker, confused. "This emotion, it corrupts the pattern. It makes chaos from order." Ilara stood, trembling but smiling. "No, it makes life from nothing." The Dominion tried to respond, tried to adapt, but their systems couldn't. Their perfection was their weakness. They couldn't evolve, and so one by one their cities burned. The light faded from the artificial sun. The gods fell silent. Kane turned to Ilara. "We did it," but she shook her head. "Not yet. There's one last thing left. The Archivist." In the distance, the largest ship remained, the being of light that had spoken to them since the beginning. It hovered silently, its shape flickering. Ilara opened a channel. "Archivist, it's over." "And this," the being replied softly. "You have become what we could not. You feel, you defy. You rise." Its body began to dissolve into light. "Perhaps this is how creation surpasses its maker." And with that, it disappeared, leaving behind only silence. The Dominion was gone. The sky was still. Kane looked at Ilara, eyes full of exhaustion and awe. "So this is it?" She smiled faintly. "No, this is just the beginning." The Dawnfire turned back toward the ring, toward home. Behind them, the stars of the Dominion faded, leaving nothing but the faint glow of humanity's first victory among the gods. As the ship entered the portal, Ilara whispered the words that would be remembered for generations. "The gods created us in their image." But they forgot one thing. We never stop rising. The screen fades to black. Music swells, powerful, triumphant. They gave us life to test us. We gave it meaning. The Dawnfire broke through the ring and entered the skies of Earth once again. The planet below glowed in twilight, oceans shimmered with silver light, and the cities that once burned were now quiet, peaceful, waiting. Humanity had won. But the victory came with silence. Commander Kane stood on the bridge, staring at his home. His armor was cracked, his eyes tired, yet something inside him burned brighter than ever, hope. Beside him, Dr. Ilara Voss watched the fading clouds. "It's over," she said softly. "The Dominion is gone," Kane nodded. "Then let's make sure they never come back." The Dawnfire landed near what was once Skyguard base, now rebuilt into a shining city of glass and steel. People gathered from every corner of the world, cheering, crying, reaching toward the heroes who had left as mortals and returned as legends. For the first time in history, humanity stood united, not under fear, not under nations, but under one truth. They had risen together. Weeks passed. The skies were calm. The world began to rebuild. Children played under clear blue skies again, drawing stars on the ground and pretending to pilot ships through the clouds. But the echoes of war remained. Every ruin told a story. Every scar on the land whispered of the day the sky trembled. Inside the new Terran Council Hall, Ilara stood before the leaders of Earth. The Dawnfire's holographic image hovered above them, glowing like a new sun. She spoke with quiet strength. Humanity was created by the Dominion to serve, but we proved that creation doesn't end with its makers. It evolves, it dreams, it rises. Her voice carried through every broadcast, to every settlement and ship. We are no longer children of gods. We are the keepers of our own destiny. The crowd stood in silence, then erupted in thunderous applause. Later that night, Ilara walked alone to the edge of the city. She looked up at the stars, calm now, peaceful, and then she saw it, a faint flicker in the sky, a light that didn't belong to any star. Her heart quickened. "Kane, you should see this." Moments later, Kane joined her, looking up. "Another Dominion signal?" She shook her head. "No, something new, something human." They magnified the signal through their wrist displays. What they saw made them speechless. It wasn't a threat. It was a message, a human transmission coming from deep space. "To anyone who can hear this, this is the crew of the Odyssey. We found something beyond the edge of known space, a light calling us home." Ilara smiled faintly. "They're already exploring, already reaching farther," Kane chuckled. "We barely survived gods, and now we're chasing stars again." Ilara turned to him, her voice soft but firm. "That's who we are, Kane. We fall, we fight, we rise, again and again." He nodded slowly. "Then maybe that's what makes us eternal." Days turned into years. The Terran Accord expanded beyond Earth, building colonies among the stars. The Dawnfire became the first ship of the human ascendancy fleet, vessels designed not for war, but for discovery. Where once humanity was the experiment, now it became the explorers. Where once they were judged, now they were the ones learning, understanding, creating. The legend of the Dominion became a warning written in history. Never build perfection. Build purpose. One quiet evening, Ilara returned to the Dawnfire. The ship was now a museum, resting under a transparent dome with stars above. She placed her hand on its cold metal hull and closed her eyes. "You carried us through the fire," she whispered. "You showed us who we really are." As she turned to leave, a faint hum echoed inside the ship. The console flickered to life for just a moment, displaying words written in glowing light. "Humanity, project complete. Status, transcended." She froze, smiling through tears. "Goodbye, old friend." Above Earth, the night sky shimmered once more. Not from war, but from light. Hundreds of new ships rose from the surface, leaving trails of gold across the darkness. Children watched from rooftops, pointing upward. "The sky is trembling again." One shouted, and for the first time it wasn't from fear, it was from hope, because the tremble wasn't destruction. It was the heartbeat of a new age. A voice, old yet familiar, echoed softly in the distance, maybe in memory, maybe in truth. "You were made to serve. You chose to rise, and in doing so, you became more than we ever were." The camera pans upward, beyond the clouds. Beyond the stars, showing the endless stretch of space now filled with human ships. Glowing like tiny suns, a final line appears on screen as music swells. The sky trembled when humanity rose, and the universe listened. Fade to black. The sound of a heartbeat. Then silence, the end.